$400 million for horse racing over the next 5 years. I know you guys have been critical of what McGuinty did to horse racing, and you want a lot of the funding restored. But I'm just curious, A, what do you think of that $400 million? And B, with all of the spending that they're doing, are you going to be able to keep your pledge, if you're elected next year, to balance the books in 16-17, a year earlier than they've?
Well, yeah, sure. Two good questions there. Look, the answer to your second question is yes. I mean, we have to balance the budget, not only because that means less debt put on the next generation, but it's a signal to business that Ontario is open for business. It'll help bring jobs in. I mean, who's investing in
the $400 million?
Yeah, I mean, I'll get to the answer. I just when I look big picture here, what is the most important thing we can do to open our doors for new business investment and more jobs for Ontario men and women? And that's to make sure we have a government that spends within its means. I mean, no business is investing in Detroit, Michigan. I mean, we're not there yet, but that's the road we're on with the spending we see from the Wynne Liberals. Does it make it more difficult, Rob, when they make more spending promises and backtrack on promises like a wage freeze? Absolutely. They're digging a hole deeper. And that's why I've been very clear that the sooner we get about solving our problems, the better it's going to be for those men and women in our province today who are struggling to get by on a part-time job. With respect to the horse racing side, and I know Jim's followed this issue closely, may have something to add to this. I mean, this reminds me of the solution of the arsonist who's been asked to run the fire brigade. I mean, they have displaced tens of thousands of Ontario men and women, tossed them out of work with the horse racing decisions that the Liberals have made. And now, 2 years later, they're coming back with some funding as a temporary stopgap measure. Look, no business can survive on handouts. You have to have a solution that's going to help invest in the industry in the long run. But let's not forget what happened here. And just like I said with the gas plant scandal, that Kathleen Wynne somehow pretends that her hands are clean, that she was out of the loop. She was also there at the cabinet table when they decided to toss the horse racing industry under the bus. Every one of those thousands of jobs lost income in rural Ontario, that has Kathleen Wynne's fingerprints all over it because she was a senior minister at the cabinet table that made that decision. Jim, did you want to add to that?
Well, just, when we brought in the slots at racetrack program, it was considered a win-win. It solved the government's problem at the time of where do we put legal gambling without having to open up new sites, because obviously gambling was already going on in terms of horse wagering. We never saw the money that we put in each year as a subsidy. That was new language that came out of Mr. McGuinty and Mr. Duncan. It was considered an investment and was considered basically the rent we were paying to use their facilities to put our slot machines in. And yet, and I'd say, and so they jeopardized 60,000 jobs. I know in my part of the province, Tim's, not only racetracks closed, but you literally go along the highways and back roads, and you see horse equipment, horse trailers, buggies, everything up for sale in the ditches. A lot of the farms have gone bankrupt, and so thousands of people have been thrown out. And the fact of the matter is, it's criminal what they did. And finally, I'd say they've given up all that income tax that those thousands of people were paying, and they've never explained to this day, as far as I know, how they're going to make up the revenue they used to make from the old program. There's a great big gap there of revenue that they've never explained how they're going to make it up.
Tim, what are your thoughts on these Pan Am lanes that we're hearing about? We're already going to have an influx